Welcome to the channel. Today we're gonna just do pure technicals. We're looking at S&P 500. It is Friday, pretty bad red day. So we want to see, hey, are we gonna reverse finally? This is S&P 500 SPY, the ETF for the S&P 500. We did bounce off a pretty strong support down here at 421. This is the 200 daily moving average. So if we scale back to the daily chart, right, and take off. This is my trading stuff. So we're gonna move over to the macro. You can see that we're coming off, and I know I have a lot of stuff marked up here. This is the downtrend we're in. We're coming off this 200 daily moving average, which was also the previous support, right? We also had previous support here. And so the question is, are we going to find some support in this area finally, right? This is our area, 422-ish. I think we need to hold 420. We need to hold 420 if you're going to get any chance of a rebound. We are coming into earnings seasons, which earnings growth is due to move up. What up? Not looking so good, man. Yeah, 100%. It looks pretty bad. It feels terrible. It does feel terrible. I mean, bond yields are still moving up, so we do have some macro headwinds. The war could escalate, so I think a lot of people are concerned about over the weekend. We don't want to hold nothing over the weekend because, what if the war escalates and we wake up and stock market's down, 10%? So far we are moving off that 200 moving average, and this was also, I believe, the blue line I have here, the highlighted line I have is also a. Let's take a step back here. I think this is also a gap that, yeah, here we go. This was a gap back in, when was this? This was all the way back in July. I think June. Yeah, this was back in June. So this is a gap that it did get filled in June. It got filled here, right? So it almost got filled here. 1, 2, 3. So it had support off that gap. And it looks like we're literally pushing off that gap today, right? These are technical analysis. So you have two supports. You have the gap, right, which isn't really a gap fill reversal because it already got filled earlier, but you do have that as still support. You do have a little bit of support down here at 420. This is probably the lowest level you want to see. And then the 200 daily moving average is what we're pulling into at the moment, where the bulls are hoping fund managers step in and start buying at this level. So that is S&P at the moment. Let me get back onto the day trade. Now it's getting rejected by VWAP. This is not our VWAP. Over here you have the SPY also, so you can see the SPY also in this window. I have it on the side as always if I'm trading or if I'm watching the market. So we got rejected right at VWAP, which means the institutions are not buying this move. They're not buying this move yet. They're selling this move into VWAP. And we're going to have a squeeze in between here. We'll see what happens. It is Friday. There was about $2.5 trillion of options expiring. And, going into the weekend with a lot of geopolitical uncertainty, I think, we could make new lows here or we could squeeze higher. It depends on the news cycle. But we got a hard rejection off VWAP. You can see a really hard rejection off of VWAP, right? If we move over to Tesla, I know people are watching Tesla. Did Tesla finally bottom? We came into 210. I actually got long here at 210. I did get long here at 210. It was nasty. Once it feels like, oh my God, this thing is still falling, got long. One contract scaled in another contract. And I'm actually going to swing this because we are going into the Cybertruck November 30th. It's oversold right now. We're extremely oversold on the RSI. We're back down to oversold level. So I still think we get a bounce at some. Now, could it drop lower? Sure, it could go back down. There's another gap at 207. Let me pull this back. There's another gap here at 207. And man, I got a lot of stuff marked up here. We are violating the 200 moving average. So it is moving up, though. It's pretty steep, but we are violating it. We're moving off that gap at 212.50. No, this was the previous, my bad. This is the previous level, 212. We got right through it, but now we're right back above it, right? Well, I don't know if we hold it. We'll see. But there is another gap at 207.50. We filled the gap at 214. I think that gap was about 214, 215. Well, there's a 215 gap. There's a 214 gap. It just pretty much, slid right through all those gaps. Now the next gap is going to be at 207. I think as we get as low as 200 at the lowest before we capitulate. But you do need the overall market moving lower. So Tesla, what's going on here? Well, margins are pulling back. Elon had the worst earnings call probably of all time. Man, this is a lot of stuff. I need to get rid of this. Elon had a very bad earnings call. He was throwing a fit. Some people say he did it on purpose to get the stock down for his institutions to start buying again. Of course, that's optimism from the bulls. What do you see? What do you got here, Slime Z? Market sucks, but this is probably the cheapest we're going to get. to buy again, especially for certain stocks. Yeah, 100%. I mean, we do need the macro to improve at some point. I have the same gap on my charts too, but the old gaps can be somewhat support and resistance. Yeah, somewhat support, 100%. The gaps that Tesla is going to fill to the upside is going to be amazing. Yeah, I think we do for sure going into November, right? November, the Fed's going to decide November 1st, which is about 11 days, I think, or it could be 12, somewhere early November. The Fed's going to probably pause. The market is pricing in a pause here. So Tesla would at least retrace back to this 240, 270 gap, in my view. I need to get this cleaned up. I definitely need to get this chart cleaned up. So yeah, once you get that gap cleaned up, and then look, we're getting a death cross on Tesla also. So you do have a death cross down here. But in the intraday, are we seeing any signs of reversal? You do have heavy support here. Forget these cross currents. Let's get rid of them. Get rid of some of these cross currents. We don't need these right now. You got the 200 moving average. Okay, that's going to be one support. We're beneath that. You have the previous low, which was I think 212. Yeah, it was about 212, 212.50. That was the previous low. And then you have this 207 gap. So that's what you're battling right now. When we, start to come in here, now it looks like we're getting rejected at that level. Let's turn this back into the day trade, get this back on the day trading charts. Pre-market, we just slid all pre-market, sell, 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 right? We try to have an up move early. I know a lot of people got trapped here, got back beneath VWAP. But we are pretty oversold, so we'll see if it holds up. You have to see the Qs show support here. I think it's all about the Qs. Let's move over to the Qs before we get to Bitcoin. All right, so looking at the Qs, nice reversal pattern here though on the Qs. Let's take the volume down. We don't really care about the volume right now. You did get a nice volume here, nothing too crazy, but you got a nice reversal, which was these were all the support. So if we pull back a little bit, let's go to the daily chart. Okay, the gap, what I have here is there's a gap here. I know it's hard to see, but this red line is a gap that just got filled earlier in the year. 354.50 is pretty much the gap. It got filled a couple times. So that's our support, 355.50. Also, it is not close to the 200 moving average. So this is kind of where the Qs are at. The biggest low is down here at 351. So we could keep sliding, especially if yields keep climbing. If the dollar moves up, and the dollar is actually kind of weak right now, I'm going to put the dollar in up here, DXY. And we're going to see what the dollar's doing at the moment. Is the dollar bottoming out yet? So the dollar's, it's kind of weak. It's not showing too much strength at the moment. If we go to the daily chart, right? I know this is kind of hard to see, but look, the dollar is, whoa, this is weird. Never seen it look like this. The dollar is struggling at 106, right? It's struggling at 106, but it looks like it's forming a wedge too. So this could, if this breaks out over the weekend, right, then it's going to be ugly for stocks. Stocks make new lows. More than likely, it is the wrecking ball. Everything's priced in the dollar. So that wouldn't be good if we see the dollar continue higher. But it's showing some lower highs. It is showing some lower highs. Also, when you go to oil, if we take a look at oil, okay, that chart's not going to work for us. It jumped again, right? Let's look it over here. All right, let's look it over here. So I'm going to put the Qs up here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, oil's moving higher also, which is not a great look. These are all signals of more tightening for the stock market. So the earnings might not even help the stocks at all. Earnings might just keep stocks afloat, but we could get that reversal. We'll see. That we are selling off. But yeah, oil is moving up, and it looks like it did back in the day, right? I remember back, if we go back a little bit, oil showed this pattern before, right? Everybody was hoping that oil would sell off, that it'd be done, but it kept moving up. Let's see, where was it? It was back here. Yeah, it looks a lot like here. It looks a lot like it did back when we had the Russia invasion and oil spiked. It did come down, but then it started to move up again. So it's showing that pattern where it has big upside moves and then it comes back down, right? That's what we're looking at. So I don't know if it goes up all the way. It probably will, but right now we're working with Venezuela, the U.S., to get oil prices back down. I mean, Venezuelan's infrastructure is pretty bad, so I'm not sure if that's actually going to play itself out. But for the most part, again, back to the market. You know, you need the Qs, QQQ, and it is showing a reversal at the moment. Who knows if it continues? But this is a reverse head and shoulders. You get the shoulder, right? Here's your shoulder, here's your head, and we'll see if we can support 355 and get another shoulder there. That's what you're looking for, another shoulder. That'd be your reverse head and shoulders. And it did make a new high, so it's, you know, it got right back. That's pretty bearish. It got right back below the moving averages, at least on the 3-minute chart. If we move to the 5-minute, see what we're looking at. Same thing, head and shoulders, reverse head and shoulders. See if that actually holds up here. 30-minute chart, you do need to get above this previous. We need to hold above 356 to get a reversal. Still, you have a lot of resistance. 357 is a big resistance. This is pretty strong bear market. This is a very strong bear market for the week at least, or you know, sellers are in control for sure. Right, we do have the sellers in control. So going over to crypto, let's talk a little bit about crypto. See what else do we have going on here. And before we before we move on, let's see. S&P is retesting, right? S&P is about to retest that level. We'll see if it holds up. Same thing, 420. If you do make a low, if you do get a reversal, it's going to have to be off this. You don't want this shoulder to fall out, right? You don't want to make a new low on the shoulder. So we got the 422.39. Looks like it's headed. It looks like the, you know, people are real fearful going into the weekend. So I'm not sure that's going to hold up. But yeah, let's jump over to crypto. On the crypto side, when it comes to liquidity is okay. It's not great. Bitcoin tried to get above 31K yesterday, and it's starting to show some juice. We got Bitcoin starting to show some juice. Let's move this over a little bit. And we do have some news also that's coming into the market. All right, so here's Bitcoin. And what are we looking at? This is the market cap. Okay, that's market cap, Bitcoin market cap. Not looking for the market cap of Bitcoin. Let's look at the actual price. Bitcoin dominance is up for sure. Oh yeah, Bitcoin dominance is rising at the moment. So that's sort of bearish for altcoins. No, that's actually really bearish for altcoins. Ethereum's moving up a little bit. Anyways, to Bitcoin though, what are we seeing here? This is a bear flag. So it is a bear flag, but you know, the catalyst, it has one of the strongest catalysts that you can think of, which is that Bitcoin ETF being getting passed earlier than not, right? In 2023, a lot of people are saying this will get passed in 2023. And although we did get the big upside move, so this candle right here was the catalyst for Bitcoin. This was the ETF catalyst. So once it was fake, right? It was fake news. It was basically, okay, the Bitcoin ETF, BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF just got approval, and then it was fake and it sold off. But now we're rising again because I think that pressure is pretty much setting off Bitcoin in general. Say, you know what, it's probably going to get passed by the end of the year. Let's go ahead and get in early because we see what's going to happen when it is approved. It's going to rocket. It's going to skyrocket. And going into the second half of the year should be positive for Bitcoin. It is breaking out of this trend also. It's breaking out of this downtrend. We're still in this rising wedge pattern. So, you know, I'm not sure it's going to be great, but the wedge itself isn't enough to deter the you know, the demand that comes in for the actual ETF. Right? So yeah, that's what we're looking like on the weekly. We're now above on the weekly. We're above. This is the first time, if Bitcoin can hold this, this would be the first time it holds the 50, the 200, and the 100 daily moving averages. Well, these are weekly moving averages, right? That'd be the first time if we can hold. So we need to close above 29,000 pretty much to see if Bitcoin can hold above 29,000. It is strengthening. It is starting to strengthen. So this is positive news for you crypto guys. Moving over to Ethereum. Ethereum is struggling, right? It does have a nice setup here, but Ethereum is struggling because it's not an Ethereum ETF, right? ETH to BTC is just falling off a cliff, not completely, but it is, you know, pulling back to that 200 moving average from the week. Chainlink actually looks really strong here. Chainlink is still pulling in. There's a lot of resistance at $8.90, but Chainlink looks like it's wedging, still waiting for it to fall a little bit. And so, yeah, that's what's going on with crypto. The total crypto market is wedging also. But it's, with again, like if you look at the macro, here's what's really hurting stocks right now. Okay. 30-year yield is still moving up because, and this is kind of like the death loop. I think we're going to do another video later. This is the death loop right now. It looks like SPY's trying to find support. The death loop is this. Bond yields are going higher because the US Treasury is dumping bonds. Okay, so if you go to the bond market, TLT is a proxy for that. You see bonds are just falling, falling, falling. This is US debt. China selling US debt. The Fed is selling US debt. The US Treasury is increasing the supply of US debt, which moves price lower. And so that pushes yields higher. These are the real interest rates to the market, not the Fed funds rate. The Fed funds rate is set for banks, which does affect the rest of the market. But for the most part, 30-year yields, mortgage rates are based on this, right? Longer term debt borrowing is based off this. So this moves up, right? Well, also, this is called a tantrum. You could call it the taper tantrum. This is a tantrum from the bond market. People are selling debt. They're also shorting the market because of fiscal spending, because the government is spending too much. I know we're getting a little bit into macro. We'll get back to the technicals. But as they spend more, right now we have a war in Israel. We're still printing for Ukraine. So all that stimulus that keeps coming out, or all that money printing from the White House, all that new created debt is only going to push yields higher. So that's the flux. That's why these guys are, continuously short the bond market, because as long as fiscal policy, says, hey, we're gonna keep on selling, we're gonna keep on pushing up rates, our fiscal policy continues to print, well, the bond market's gonna react by rising yields, by raising the yields, by selling the bonds, right? People are like, oh, you're gonna keep printing money, you're gonna keep devaluing our currency, we're gonna sell your debt, right? So US debt, it continues to push rates higher, it's falling and rates are going up. And it's a doom loop, because if there's war, what goes higher? Oil, right? The macro forces tighten. So if there's a war, oil goes up. We don't really want to see that. Let's go to the daily chart actually on this one, right? If the war continues, then oil goes higher. That's going to tighten conditions, which will slow the consumer in Q1. And, so that's negative. And if oil goes higher, inflation on the headline is going to be up. So rates are going to front run that by moving higher. And then if you keep printing for the war, well, rates go higher because fiscal stimulus goes up, and that's more fiscal spending. And that's what, bonds don't want to see. So nothing but negative here. The only upside right now is that the dollar is actually not moving. The dollar typically moves up when there's a lot of geopolitical risk. The dollar will break out. So the dollar saying, hey, it's not crazy yet. It's not too bad yet. And then at the same time, dollar has been responding to higher yields, but it's not at this moment, right? If we actually look at the short-term yields, those are falling. So short-term yields, these are 3-month yields collecting money market funds. They peaked in September, and we're in late October. So those are actually making a new low. I think that's the reverse repo facility money coming in to buy those up. 2-year actually came down, 5-year came down. So the whole bond market, right, the whole yield curve is out of control right now. It's moving up, moving down, it's confused, and that's why we see bond volatility starting to spike. This is negative. These are risk to the bond. This is more risk to the bond market and US debt. Hopefully that calms down at some point. The VIX got above 20, now starting to pull back a little bit. NASDAQ volatility actually isn't making new highs, so that's constructive in the short term for the Qs. I think the Qs stand a better chance here than the S&P. If we look at the long-term trend, the Qs have that support that we're looking at. So we're going to get back to S&P. It looks like the S&P is starting to bottom at this point. We do have the reverse head and shoulders actually coming into play here. So let's look at this reverse head and shoulders. There we go. Got the reverse head and shoulders. So I wish I could draw on this. I don't think I can draw on this one. Yeah, I don't think you can draw for TOS, but looks like volume's coming in. So we got that shoulder, right? We got this first shoulder that got put in earlier in the what was this? This is about an hour ago. And then we got the head bottoming out right at the previous gap level, at the previous support. And then we got that last shoulder supporting, pretty much perfectly with the previous shoulder. Now we're breaking out, or we're not breaking out. Now we're moving up, the volume's coming in. But we do need to see, and this is the 5-minute chart, we do need to see a break and hold of a 423 to get that reversal. To get that reversal back. VWAP is our current resistance at the moment. We got VWAP at resistance. We'll see if that plays through. But S&P is pulling up. Let's look at what the Qs are doing. Are the Qs pulling in strong? Qs look good. Qs also are moving up against this level. So tech is moving up against this level, putting in that reverse head and shoulders. Is Tesla bottoming out here? Tesla struggling a little bit at 212. That was that gap. No, that wasn't the gap. That was the previous level. The gap was at 215. So 215, got destroyed. And now for Tesla, you're looking at you're pretty much looking at that previous low at 212, and then 210, 207 down here, 207.75. RSI showing us some strength coming up here in the short term. You want to see this EMA cross above the lower time frame EMA, cross above the higher time frame EMA with the VIX coming down. I'm going to put the VIX up here. Do you get the VIX coming down? Yeah, it's falling at the moment. Do we have the dollar coming down? Yeah, it looks like the dollar is weakening at the moment. So this could be a good, and Tesla, listen, Tesla has a lot of bad news. I get it. We have, I want to talk about crypto also before we get there. There's some stories that came in for crypto, and we'll go over that last. The clearinghouse. Okay, what is this Bitcoin ETF? Yeah, JP Morgan. So yeah, we're looking at the price action, but for Bitcoin, JP Morgan is expecting an ETF to be approved by the SEC before Christmas, or right in time for Christmas. So they're saying December. Let's see. BlackRock had to resubmit their ETF. Remember, it got rejected earlier in the year. It didn't really get rejected. They just said, hey, you guys got to do some more work on that ETF. You got to restructure the way you're basically they had to throw in Coinbase, a disclosure with Coinbase and whoever else they were using to actually get the Bitcoins. They had to redo the paperwork. And so BlackRock is resubmitting. They just resubmitted yesterday, and I think that's why Bitcoin's up a little bit. And then at the same time, now you have, I think, Morgan Stanley saying, hey, Bitcoins should be moving up. JP Morgan is now saying, hey, Bitcoin, that thing should get approved. Most likely before January 10th is what JP Morgan is saying, before January 10th. And then the clearinghouse, DTCC, the largest U.S. securities clearinghouse in the world, right, which is basically any equities, any bonds, any kind of asset that is traded through markets, they have to get settled. They have to get cleared through the DTCC. And the DTCC just bought a blockchain startup called Securency. They're going to change the name of it to digital, DTCC Digital Asset Manager. They're going to change the name of it, but for the most part, they're ramping up, right? They're ramping up for this crypto rally. They're getting their assets ready to be tokenized. So crypto could have a nice Santa Claus rally here. I'm still waiting for S&P to have a Santa Claus rally. Earnings just started. We're not all the way through yet, but it looks like we are. We got to be bottoming here. I mean, let's look at SPY. SPY is also what? SPY is also selling off into an oversold area. On the RSI, yeah, we're pretty oversold. I mean, we're not there yet on the daily chart, so we might have a little bit more room for S&P. Maybe it does, stay down here for a while. But when I look at the CMF data, which is another way to look at buying pressure, it is moving up. Let's go to that daily chart really quick on SPY, see if that CMF data. Man, it looks bad. Yeah, the CMF data is moving higher, especially on the Qs also. It's all going to come down to earnings. All right, yeah, getting back into the day intraday charts though for S&P it did have a double top there. So really tight range now between the shoulder. We need to hold up here between the shoulders and VWAP. It's VWAP, right? These institutions are selling at VWAP at the moment. So there has to be a new catalyst or some more clarity. There has to be some more clarity. Has to be some more clarity. Let's see if Tesla actually did. Okay, now you get a small little wedge on the 5 minute. A small little wedge off the lows for Tesla. We need to break back above the previous low, obviously. Let's see. Oh, you got some bullish divergence. But Tesla still has VWAP. The real question is, has it bottomed for, has Tesla actually bottomed for the cycle? And when I say the cycle, I'm just speaking of, man, I need to get rid of these. Let's get rid of all these drawings. Actually, let's just redo this. Okay, so we're at the 200 daily moving average. 200 moving average. It'd be great if we could hold above it. I'm going to zoom into this gap, this previous gap, so we could draw that line. Okay, so it was this 237, 235 was a previous gap. We got all the way down to see what gap is this, 207. So 207.50 is is the next gap if we cannot hold. And then the 221 gap, I guess there isn't really a gap other than 221. It's got to be 207.50. So we have 207.50, and then taking a step back, that's that next gap to be filled. The previous low down here was at the very lowest. It was what, 212.50. So that's our those are our next levels to look at right there. Let me change the color of this. Yep, those are the levels, and we are, on at least on this we're oversold. It's weird on TradingView, it's not, but on TOS Thinkorswim platform, we look like we're pretty oversold here. That was a very sharp downside move also for Tesla. So that's the level you're looking at. Now the gap to be filled is going to be up here. I think we definitely fill this gap because we're going to have a bounce. Even if Tesla keeps going down, it's going to have a pretty nice bounce like it did back here. Typically always bounce. The question is, how high do we go? We did make a lower high on this last bounce, so maybe we do make a lower high, but at least we should be closing the gap at 242 and then maybe reverse from there, going into the rest of the year or the end rally. Right now, what's killing us is that what's killing us is the damn war escalations. Right, that's a lot of fear there. So hopefully we get the oil price down. Dollar's weakening, VIX is weakening. It looks like the reversal is coming in. Looks like we are getting the reversal. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Tesla breaking that little wedge. There we go. There's your upside wedge. See if we're missing anything. All right, let me check the news feed, see if anything news came in yet. We got Newswatch. FDA says Philips recall, blah, blah, blah. What is this? Merck. Don't care, don't care. See if anything's came up in the Middle East. Egypt detains protesters at pro-Palestinian demonstration. Israel evacuates city near Lebanon border as it hits targets in Gaza. Okay. This is big. Iran's military chief warns U.S. Over arming Israel. So Iran keeps throwing out That's what people are worried about going into, because this market would be rallying pretty strong if this wasn't the case. So this is your headwind. This is the big uncertainty right here. This could cause some type of black swan if something breaks out even further, if the escalations continue. And it looks like this war is going to drag on for a while. And if there's more fiscal policy, if there's, well, let's say this, if there's more deficit spending to support the war, more defense spending, well, those yields will probably just keep climbing up. So this is not a good look. Not a good look. Let's see, any who spoke today. Harker, Mester, they spoke. They were, I think they were pretty dovish. Fire. Let's double check what they said today. Tom Lee spoke a little bit today. Oh, you got Tom Lee today? All right, nice. Hopefully they got Tom Lee on the. You got Tom Lee on the compound. I'll do some videos on that. See what those Fed speak. So Mester says data shows signs of moderating wage gains, labor market showing moderated resilient. Yeah, same thing. I don't think the Fed must not be too complacent on getting inflation back to 2%. It's possible recent development could slow the move down in inflation. Wow, that's it. That's more constructive. It is possible recent developments could slow the move down in inflation. That's interesting. Unless what she's saying is slow the move is, inflation is falling and the recent war is actually going to slow that move to the downside. Maybe that would make more sense actually. Fed Mester, the Fed is at or near the peak of rate hike cycle. We are near or at the peak. Man, they should be pausing. That's why I think the market's is gonna eventually, it's gonna capitulate one of these days. It just needs a better catalyst or less uncertainty from the war. The more certainty from the war, the better. Ceasefire could cause this thing to explode, even if it only lasts a couple days. See what else is she saying? Well, we have Tesla starting to recover here. See if the Qs are recovering also above VWAP. Yeah, it looks like the Qs are gonna bottom out here. Yeah, that reverse head and shoulders should take us back to VWAP. I don't know if we can get above it, but here's the path. See if we can get above VWAP. That's the real. I doubt it. I don't think we have a good enough catalyst, but hopefully this is the bottom for the bulls, right? If you're short, yeah, you don't really care. Oh, here's what Mester is also saying. I'm going to read what the Fed is speaking and kind of dissect it a little bit. Fed Mester, if sustained, higher bond yields will help moderate economic activity. So the Fed is communicating that these higher yields basically are keeping them from hiking, right? So is that constructive? Maybe. I mean, it depends on how high yields can go. Right now, where are yields at? Because there has to be a top somewhere. There has to be you see the 30-year is now at 5%. It just crossed 5%. That's typically a very strong indicator. The 10-year hit 5%, came back down. If 5% is the target, which the target is probably 5.25 because that's where the Fed funds is at. I think we get yields to 5.25 at the highest. We're at 5% tip right now. We're at 5% on the 30-year. The 10 years at 4.9, but it's basically hit 5%. 2 years at 5%. So maybe these all need to go to 5%, and then that's it. That could take another month. Anyways, Fed Mester also says the Fed's forecast eyeing one more increase. Maybe, and I think they do one more increase. It could be December, could be January, February, because they're seeing that the economy is not slowing here. We're definitely not going into a recession, guys. You might get inflation reaccelerate a little bit or stay more stickier, but not a recession. Also, she says the Fed needs to be nimble with monetary policy. So, swinging back in the other way, we've got to be careful. The Fed will be driven by incoming data. Well, what kind of data are we getting? We're probably going to get stronger GDP. So we have GDP forecast coming in on next week, and we have PCE data. Hopefully they come in line. Right now you need in line or lower than expected. What else is inflation is cooling but still too high. Risks tilt to the upside. Yep. Let's see what else we have. So Biden administration asks Congress for nearly 106 billion in supplemental funding for Ukraine, Israel, and the border protection. Yeah, the more they keep printing, I mean, goodness sake, they're just creating more and more debt. And the more they do that, these yields, I can see why people are bearish. The yields keep climbing. That means your housing prices are going to be elevated. Interest payments are going to be elevated. The dollar should actually be moving up, but it's not, which is really, I don't want to say worrying me. It's a good sign for asset prices, but I don't know why the dollar's not moving up. Then Fed Harker says that he's hearing the economy is softening faster than they thought. I'm hearing inflation easing faster than we thought. Hezbollah, we've targeted Israel sites, guided missiles. Here we go, escalation. The economy is quite remarkable and resilient. Fed Harker, the U.S. job market remains surprisingly strong. Fed Harker, I favor holding rates, closely watching the data. They know that you're going to get seasonal spending and then it slows. I think that's what they're looking forward to. Still stair-stepping its way back up there. These are the Qs. Let's see if Tesla's showing support there. Okay, yeah, we got Tesla showing a little bit of support. I bet during the week it does come back down. Usually it has one dip and then it fills the gap, reverses, and maybe we'd have one more low back to 207. Maybe not. Maybe it holds and then it continues. It really comes down to the Qs, which is why I keep looking at the Qs. Well, it's holding on that 30-minute chart. Let's see what SPY is doing. Can't get above VWAP. That's your resistance. Pretty clear there. 423.75. 423.75. $423.70. Yep, that is it. All right, here's the trend. Maybe it'll grind higher for the rest of the day. You need a catalyst at this point. We need an earnings catalyst to get earnings up, earnings expansion, our multiples expansion. It's a rough time. Ghost orders. What the hell are these? Forward 12-month S&P earnings are at all-time highs. Yes, this is an estimate, and yes, it can turn lower in real life for the next 12 months. But given the continued doubt in the economy, what if it doesn't and things get stronger? Okay. A big the liquidity master, the liquidity guru from Cross Borders Capital. We know that bonds falling is a trouble because the collateral takes away from liquidity. But he also posted, what did he just post? Where is it? He just posted something about a cyclical turn. Man, people are buying bonds though. That's why people are trying to front run this move, because if bonds are getting bought, then there should be a nasty reversal for TLT. I mean, look at TLT, right? If this is all a rate story, we're not talking about the Fed funds rate. We're talking about the the actual TLT rate. Look at TLT hit a new low here, probably a new 3-year low, 82.27 this morning. Big bounce. People are buying these bonds. They're coming in and buying these bonds. I mean, that's a pretty strong move there. The problem is they keep gapping down and then moving back up. So look on the daily chart how oversold this is. This is TLT, right? These are long bonds. This is debt basically. Is there enough buyers to buy this debt? Okay, so we're getting very bullish divergence here, which is the bullish divergence is RSI is moving up, making new high. Well, I don't want to say making new highs, but it is trending higher. Well, price is just falling. It's collapsing. There's going to be a relief rally at some point. We just don't know where it's going to be. It's going to be coming from inflation or weak economic data. I think it's more likely inflation, because data should stay. Actually, no, shelter inflation is falling. So maybe it comes from the housing market. A frozen housing market makes the rent prices fall. So that could be it. We got IWM above VWAP finally. See where SPY's at. SPY's trying to retest VWAP. Qs, see QQQ, where you at? Qs are not there yet, but they are climbing. So yeah, TLT is super oversold. If we go to the weekly, what does this weekly look like? Look at how oversold this is. Golly, this is terrible. There's going to be a bounce at some point, right? Is it going to be next year? That's what it feels like. But the more new lows you make, you're already oversold and you're making more new lows, that's going to cause shorts to cover at some point. They don't want to cover because they're seeing more fiscal spending, which kind of gives them confidence that they can keep shorting, right? Because people are going to keep selling bonds as the U.S. Basically debases the bond market. But yields get more attractive. That's the other part of it, right? TNX. The more these bonds sell off, the more yields get attractive. You're going to collect 4.95% yield on a U.S. Treasury. I mean, that's the best in what, 10 centuries? No, I'm just kidding. That's the best we've seen since 2007. So it's been 15 years, basically 15 years since we've had this attractive of a bond market. And going into next year, the Fed's going to what? The Fed's going to pause. Therefore, the value of your bonds are going to start moving up, because eventually they're going to switch. They're going to cut rates. Maybe not all of next year, but these long-term investors don't look 2 months ahead. They're looking 10 years ahead. They're buying a 10-year treasury. So this will reverse. It's just we need the catalyst to reverse it. What is the damn catalyst to get this thing reversed? So S&P can finally, S&P or the Qs or, whatever your individual stocks are, like Tesla's getting hit by rates. Rates are just too damn high to buy a car. And their marketing sucks. That's the other part. Tesla doesn't have great marketing, especially like people still think it takes an hour to charge your vehicle. They still think it takes an hour. Look at this nice little wedge, though. It's a setup for the Qs. They still think it takes a long time to charge your car. It doesn't take that long. Also, Mercedes capitulated. Toyota capitulated. Now they're using the Tesla NAC standard. So everyone's still capitulating. That's why I think price is going to capitulate also. We just need these shorts to cover their positions, right? What's going to get them to cover? It's something to do with prices. Tesla, what Elon needs to do is just say, hey, if rates tick up again, then yes, we cut prices incrementally, right? He needs to let people know exactly what he's doing, which is if we cut price, if rates go up by 25 basis points, we're going to cut prices by $2,500, something like that. So people can measure it at least. And then if if they pause, maybe Elon says, okay, we're done cutting prices, boom, goes up, because your now the bottom of margins are in. That's what investors are worried about. Are we seeing the bottom of margins? But you look at this big move to the downside, and I mean, I still think it's setting up if we hold here. Of course, always bullish, but as a longer term thinker, if you look at Bitcoin and the ETF, I mean, the ETF is about to launch this thing off. Looks pretty solid to me. Kind of fell off there for a while, but we're pressing 30K. Could get above that this weekend. Definitely. All right, so SPY is now getting above, trying to get above VWAP. Let's double check that again. SPY is pressing VWAP. IWM is above VWAP. Let's see where the Dow's at. The Dow is also above VWAP. Institutions may be giving up here. Maybe they start buying. So Cross-Border Capital was saying that this looks exactly on track with our views. This is the Chinese economic momentum. Look, the Chinese economy is not as bad as people thought. We've been saying this for a while. Another macro force. We should see global liquidity pickup, but bonds right now are holding it down. I forget the doomer, the fears, end of China narrative. A big cyclical bounce is coming for the PRC. Will commodities jump? I don't know. Orange line, China GDP nowcast, and then black is liquidity. So the Chinese should, China should be pumping liquidity, and that's going to help crypto markets more than anything. How bad do bonds get before, something breaks or something's going to break here. Something's going to break here. So those are our technicals. We're getting above VWAP. This was the reversal. This was the reversal. Let's see if I can Robinhood. Here, I was going to show you guys. I bought some Tesla calls literally at the bottom. Well, I got one call. I should have went in too. But I'm trying to hold this. I'm not actually trying to. I'm not actually trying to day trade this. I'm trying to find a longer term position. Yeah, we got smashed on earnings, overreaction, but Tesla can bounce back pretty quickly. And my big thing is the overall market is due for a rip higher. It's been due for a rip higher. So when it rips higher off of better earnings, economic activity is picking up, yields finally peak, the dollar's done going up, oil is moving sideways. Once we get that peak, the market's going to rip, and Tesla goes back and fills the gap at 248. I'm pretty confident it does that. The question is, how long does it take? How long does it take is the actual question, but we'll fill that gap. So my contracts are no less than 3 months out. They're always 3 months out or 6 months out or a year out. All right, let me see. 8:45. Let's see. So I got filled at 8:20. Yeah, so I'm going to show you this really quick so you can see, and then we'll look at it. I basically got filled. I was watching this, got filled at 8:32 a.m. my time. This is what, 11:32 a.m. Pretty sure it was at 10, it was like the exact bottom. So 8:32 a.m. Let's see where that's at. For me, this is my 8:32 a.m. for Tesla. 8:32. Where is that? 8:32 a.m. All right, let's go to the 8:32. Let's go to the 1 minute chart so we can see this. 8:32 a.m. is right here. So it did drop on me. It did drop on me. Look, I got in right here. 8:32 a.m. I got in here at 210.77. It dropped on me to 210.42 and then bounced. So pretty much at the bottom. I didn't bottom ticket on the 1 minute, but if you go to the 3 minute chart, it looks like it did bottom ticket. Yeah, it looks like a bottom tick there. So this is basically, if I put it on the 3 minute chart, I can say, yeah, bottom tick this thing. Look, right on the last capitulation. But yeah, I was watching the RSI. It was oversold. It started to rise. I was like, bro, this move is nasty. And really, the other clue that I had here was Nasdaq was finding support finding a lot of consistent support here. I'm always watching NASDAQ with Tesla and the VIX and the dollar, but NASDAQ started to watch 832. Where's 832 at? 832 is right here on this candle. So NASDAQ was just holding 1, 2, 3, 4. And I thought it's not that it was just holding. I mean, you're also getting this RSI divergence, right? Price is falling considerably, and then RSI is rising. That's what got me. I saw the RSI start to get positive, climbing higher, and then we're making new lows. We're starting to move sideways. Once price is falling and RSI is rising, you're getting ready for that divergent move. And then when you see candles start to move sideways, start to consolidate while RSI is still moving up, the momentum is starting to shift. So I saw that and I'm like, all right, Tesla's doing the same thing. Let's get long a contract. I got long the second contract. And don't get me wrong, I'm down on my position. I held during earnings. I made some mistakes. But we'll see if I can make it back. I mean, I'm going to stop out at the lows, obviously. That's what you always say, right? But earnings were terrible. It was a bet. You lost on the bet. Next one was at 8:48 a.m. So I saw a little bit of confirmation. 8:48 was right here for the Qs, right? We got above the previous level. So 8:48. No, right here. 8:48 is right here. Yeah, here's 8:48. Started to clear that level. What does that look like for Tesla? Ooh, Tesla is coming down. I still expect one more downside move. See, 8:48. Second move was here. But let's see on the 1 minute. What did it look like on the 1 minute? Yeah, here's what I saw. It's this candle. It says green candle here. So Tesla moved up, got in early, 8:38, pulled back a little bit, and then it consolidated for 4 minutes, and then boom, one more candle up, and I got in here again. And plus the momentum was shifting up, so I was like, the momentum's going up. Obviously, we're getting out at the lows. It's on the daily chart, on the 30-minute chart. It's extremely oversold. Extremely oversold. The question is, where do you exit after that? That's the hard part. How do you exit? If you're day trading, I mean, shoot, you want to see it fill the gap and then get out. But I'm looking into January. We got Cybertruck coming into play November 30th. That's going to be a catalyst. The traders are going to cover. That's going to be a catalyst. Right now, the shorts are probably covering at the moment. They're probably going to try to get short again up here at 221. 220, 221. So I expect us to come here and then retrace again. Hopefully we hold 217 to make a reverse head and shoulders. We get that reverse head and shoulders. I'm going to add more. If the Qs can hold up. If the Qs can hold up, right? If the Qs can hold up. But it does look like S&P is starting to recover in this, we'll see. Maybe it breaks down. I'm not gonna stream the whole day, but that's what it's looking like. I do want to get back into trading. So today was a little bit of practice. I was like, this is an overreaction. Really good opportunity. Tesla's oversold on the daily chart. Okay, it is oversold on the daily chart. It has catalyst ahead of it. It already sold off during earnings. If you held it, that sucks. But if you didn't hold and you got in fresh, this is another move for Tesla. All the negative news will wash out. The shorts are going to cover, right? Your biggest opposition is, does the war escalate? Do bond yields go higher? Does the dollar go up? Does oil go up? It's possibility, but that's why you stop out. Lows of Tesla are 210 right now, 210. You stop out under 210. There's another gap at 207. But, ooh, look at that move. Okay, S&P, what do we got? New news? President Biden says the war is over. No, I'm just playing. Says he believes in the next 24 to 48 hours, trucks with aid will get through Gaza. They're trying to get aid to Gaza. Hamas armed wing spokesman Abu Dhabi. I'm just gonna say Abu Dhabi. Says we have released 2 U.S. hostages for humanitarian reasons in response to Qatar's efforts. Says we'll discuss steel and aluminum imports and critical minerals in the EU. Here comes commodities. Fed Mester, we already talked about that, moderating. We need the war to ease up a little bit. And that's good. At least they're releasing hostages because there's a negotiation happening. At least there's a negotiation happening, right? You want that. You don't want to be in the blackout. You want to know your enemies. You want to speak to them a little bit. So any type of, and trust me, they have professional negotiators. You can't negotiate with terrorists. Don't get me wrong, but there's things that the terrorists want. They want to, and they know if they're gonna lose or if they're gonna win, a big win for them is just not I don't know what I can say on YouTube. It's not dying. So I'm sure it comes down to resources. They want to gain certain resources. They want certain access. They want to have access to certain financial instruments or certain financial trade, and they could be just looking for the U.S. to ease sanctions in a certain area, which might make the U.S. look weak. They might be using Israel. Who knows what it is? Either way, because you hear the story, they just want to kill all Israelis. I really doubt it's that. It always has to do with money. It always has to do with some type of financial transaction. So they probably want ease sanctions, and I'm thinking maybe that's why the dollar's easing because they're going to be increasing. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So looks like that was the bottom. So I wish I would have got in here earlier. I started streaming after it bottomed. I was like, damn, this looks like the bottoming pattern. Let's get long. Not let's get long, but let's stream this really quick. Let's see. Do you guys like the stream? Maybe I'll do that on Fridays, and then I still got to go do some research though. I'm still putting together some stuff. Um, and if you are new, I'm probably gonna change. If you guys are familiar with the newsletter, I'm gonna change it up. I'm gonna start doing it every 2 weeks, and then eventually I'm gonna do it every month because the month is just gonna basically take care of the business cycle, the economic data cycle is on a monthly basis. So I might as well just write one newsletter that covers the whole month and looks forward into the next month, and so I can allocate my time more. Um, I can allocate my time more efficiently towards maybe creating technical analysis like this, or what the heck was that? Did somebody push a button? So I could do more technical analysis, right? Or maybe not even just TA. I'm creating courses right now also for macroeconomics, policy understanding, and all that for beginners, and it's going to be advanced and trying to figure out that structure. But yeah, that and what else? What else do I want to get into? The crypto bull run's almost there, but I think it's TA. I think a lot of it's going to be technical analysis. So maybe I'll do TA on Friday, macro Mondays, TA on Friday, live TA also. That'd be good. When do you think it's a good time to buy and swing Tesla? I think you got to go look at. You have Cybertruck November 30th, so about a month from now. It might not move until after Cybertruck. Typically, on average, Tesla will break out. Tesla will move up before the Cybertruck. So the Cybertruck would be the catalyst to get Tesla to start turning bullish. So I think if anything, I mean today was a good day, right? That bottom wick, anywhere around this bottom wick with your full stop below, the wick, right? You 210, 210.50. You don't want it to hold above below 210.50. I would get in. I mean, the Qs are starting to recover a little bit. It's a risk because you don't know what can happen over the weekend, right? So you are taking more risks. There's not a whole lot of clarity. It's a day-to-day market. Maybe you wait till Monday. You want to see a retest. You probably want to see a retest of this area. Let me see. Let's go to the 30-minute chart. It's a little easier. And then let's remove the pre-market. I don't want to see pre-market cap strategy. There we go. So yeah, you want to see a retest. IWM dropping VWAP. What else is dropping VWAP? Dow's up there. Q's. SPY dropping VWAP too a little bit. Yeah, you wanted to see a retest of this level, somewhere around 210. We could see 210 as the low here. Watch, I'll actually put this on. It's easier to draw this on TradingView. All right, so here's Tesla. Let's remove pre-market data. Oh, that's not Tesla. What the hell? All right. Ooh, look at that gap down. So yeah, 240. I'm guessing we fill the gap to 240 at least. We get back to 240. 241 was a strong support. I think we fill that gap, but let's see. It looks like can we get a break of trend? Okay, can we get a break of trend? So you want to see the break of the trend. Very tight trend. And what I'm thinking is this could either be the low or the shoulder. The low or the shoulder. And what I mean by that is, let's go to the, I think the 30-minute should do it. Yeah, this is either the low or the shoulder. We're on the 15-minute. So I would say you want to see this. This is either the shoulder here. This is the head, right? And then we get rejected here at 215. Or actually, we move up to like 220, I think, somewhere around here. We get rejected again. And you want to see it bottom at 215. And then that's your head and shoulder right there. So that's one way you could see it. That's one way. We got to see price action develop a little more. It's not, it hasn't fully developed. Or this is the shoulder and it has one more drop. This is the shoulder. This is the shoulder. Is that pretty clear? Yeah. Has one more drop into what, 207, I think. 207. We want to see support there. Comes back up. Gets rejected again. Gets around 210. Goes up. So I want to see reverse head and shoulders for Tesla. It typically does this. Do we have evidence of that? Right? Do we have evidence of that type of price action? I would say we do. When we do get a bottoming pattern. Here's one right here. Here's the last time we had that sharp sell off. One of them. Shoulder, head, and then, that's a little shoulder. Broke above that. Came back to retest. Could say this is a shoulder head or a triple bottom, whatever you want to call it, right? Triple bottom. I think you want to see a triple bottom. Triple bottom. And this was that last sell off, I think at 213, right? This is where we're at right now. I remember this in August. And what it did is, was this the same day? Yeah, I guess that was the same day. It just had a sharp pullback, like a cup and handle pullback, and then it just gapped up. This could be a shoulder. This could be a shoulder also. Right? You could say head and shoulder. It's a little more steep. So I'm looking for a triple bottom or head and shoulder pattern somewhere in there. I'm never going to say when's a good time, where's a good time, because the macro looks like crap. The macro looks like crap. It's all against you right now. You need yields to peak. You need bonds, people to buy bonds. You need the dollar to peak, and the dollar looks kind of weak. You need oil to come back down a little bit. The Fed pause also is going to be November 1st. That's the other catalyst. What up, Tigger Media? Tesla bouncing off the 200 moving average. Yeah. It looks like it's pulling up. It's trying to. So is the S&P. I think more than ever, the S&P is pulling above the 200 moving average. I think that's what we're looking at. Oh yeah, my bad. I'm over here reading this message. Um, let's get back to the trade view really quick. Yeah, so Tesla, let's go to that daily. So we'll go over the technicals again. We've been on the stream for an hour, and I'll probably come back later to look at some of the macro stuff. Anyways, look at 212. That was the previous 212 was the previous support, right? That was our previous level, 212. We bounced off of 212. We kind of cut through it like butter, just went straight through, but now we're back above. So at least we want to hold 212.50. 212.50 is where you want to hold on Tesla. Hey, you could get long today. Make sure your contract goes into, I know you guys want to trade the short stuff, and if that's all you can afford, you're taking more risk. Make sure your contract, but I would say make sure your contract is out a little further. The 250 calls or January 250 calls are like $1,000 or 800, something like that. The January 250 calls. So those are kind of cheap. You're not really expecting it to get above 250. You're just expecting it to fill this gap. It could get above 250 for sure, but you're giving it time, right? You want to give it time more than anything. You're buying time. Um, so we're still at that support. If it does leak lower, we'll probably come back down to 207.50. That's the other gap. And we are at the 200. Yeah, we're at that 200 moving average. Let's see if we're above it right now. Yeah, we're above the 200. No, we're not. We need to get above. We're not there yet. I mean, I'm sure on some people's charts, some charts, the 200 moving average is still there, but we are oversold on the RSI. We're at 26, 27. So, hey, I always say buy when things get ripped. I'm a little down. I'm down on it, so I'm pissed. Don't get me wrong. But I do. This was the plan. The plan was, hey, when it gets oversold, buy. Extremely oversold with the market in your favor, and so far the market is in our favor. It did bounce, so you want SPY, and if the Qs start making new lows, look super bearish. The SPY and the Qs make new lows. Tesla's not going to be able to hold up. It's probably going to make another low. So keep that in mind, right? Q's not even at the 200 moving average. You got a death cross there. That doesn't look good. SPY, this is where it got bid up last time at this level. This is the only reason I'm constructive probably on SPY. Let's just get rid of this trash. Remove drawings. Right? So you have S&P. Um, let's see, S&P filled this gap. So this was a gap. That was a gap for the S&P. We pretty much hit that gap. So at least S&P 500 is bouncing. One, two, three. That's like three red days in a row. Well, Tesla has a lot more than three. But we're at the 200. You have a death cross, though. You do have a bearish death cross. So you're going to need some real strength to get the S&P back up. If we go to the quarterly moving averages, this is one thing, especially in earnings season, where we are looking at earnings season. So you want to see how the moving averages are for the quarters, the last 1, 2, and 3 quarters. Oh my gosh, we're right back at the lows. We got to hold this. This is the last 4 quarters of earnings. Last time we're here was the banking crisis. No, this was okay. Yeah. This was December, right before going into year end from 2022, and then the banking crisis. It's always a yield story. So we're right at the last 3-quarter average. So the S&P is basically at the moving average that reflects the last 3 quarters of earnings. And we are bottoming in earnings. So from a fundamental standpoint, the S&P looks really good. It's just that the macro is shit. That's the truth. The macro looks like shit. But we are in this, we're in this range also. We could be just, there's always a could, would, if, then, right? I think the war is the big issue here. If the war chills out, You don't have to spend as much. The bond market capitulates, stops selling off treasuries. People start buying treasuries. Well, they're already buying treasuries. They just cover the shorts. Yields come down. Oil chills out. Dollar comes down. Like, it's all about that macro, those macro forces. You have the economy, the global economy, the and the economy's strong. They look at the macro is strong. It's the macro forces that look like shit, right? Jobless claims low, unemployment low, manufacturing activity picking up, and that's going to continue with the war. That's the only positive. It just, hey, it's that oil's up and the dollar's still elevated, and really, U.S. Treasury yields are crushing a lot of these stocks. So does the Fed pause? That's the other macro. Does the Fed pause? If they do, the market's pricing that in. Could be good. Good earnings. Fed pauses. The war doesn't accelerate. That's going to be it's going to keep us up here. But yeah, that's all we're looking at. Let me see. Oh, again, I'm gonna change the newsletter up. I am working on some stuff, but I'm gonna go dive into. I think we went over most of the technicals. I know some of you guys were looking for Bitcoin. The positive here is that JP Morgan is basically, and I think I'll talk about this later. I think I'm going to do this stream later, but Bitcoin looks pretty solid. Got rejected again at 30,000, but JP Morgan is saying, hey, that ETF is coming. JP Morgan is saying the ETF is coming. Oh, I know. I see the head and shoulder, shoulder, head, shoulder. Everybody's going to call that out. But hey, if the ETF is passed or there's more, it doesn't matter what the pattern is. That's a strong liquidity catalyst there. That is a strong catalyst. By the way, gold. Dang it, what is gold? What are gold futures? GC1, or it could be just GC here. Gold is ripping. Okay, so gold is acting as a safe haven. Man, and I was crapping on gold for the past 2 weeks. But does it actually get above the high? I don't know, but that'll be interesting. Baby boomers do control most of the wealth, so hey, maybe they're converting into gold. They're selling their stocks. They're selling something. They're selling something and buying gold. Maybe treasuries. I don't know. We'll stay up to date with that. But yeah, gold looks pretty solid there. Oh, okay, there we go. S&P's pushing up again. S&P's shooting up right off of VWAP. Let me see what that looks like intraday. And then we'll check the news cycle. Did something come into the news cycle? What she say? Can't say if monetary policy is at a peak. That's what she said. But you know what? Forget what you say. We just need yields to peak. Yeah, we're back above VWAP. Nice volume there. I think the shorts are covering. I think we are getting the shorts cover. Palestinian Red Crescent says they've received a warning from Israel forces to immediately evacuate Gaza. Gaza's Al Qaeda. Oh no, Al Qaeda. Al-Quds hospital. Yeah, this war needs to chill out. Anyways, yeah, hey guys, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go, prepare for the next stream. Pretty sure I'll do another stream either today or tomorrow on the macro, pure macro. We'll look at the technicals also. It looks like the market's recovering. Tesla's coming back. Who knows for how long, but it looks like we're recovering. That's a pretty sharp upside move. I think the shorts are covering here. This was the cycle bottom that we're looking for. Tesla back to 215. Nice. Nice. So yeah, to answer your question again, Slime Z, I hate to give financial advice, but I mean, there's a reason why I bought these two calls here out in January at the bottom. My stop is the lows, right? My stop is the low. So your situation is going to be dependent on where you get in, what your risk tolerance is, how far out you want to buy. I would not swing anything short term, too short term, because you could get another crazy gap down. You probably want to see a retest of something. I'm looking to add, but not until next week. I think it takes 3 days for Tesla to really show where it's going to head, which is after a sell-off. And Monday would be the third day. So we had earnings, the earnings sell-off. We had yesterday. Well, I guess yesterday was the earnings sell-off. Today was day 2. And so Monday will be day 3. We're headed into PCE data, the Fed's preferred inflation gauge. We're headed into that on that Friday. And then you have the pause. So I think that's going to be important to see how this plays out going into that data. And yeah, we'll see on Monday how this plays out. Other than that, you guys stay blessed. I'll catch you later on the next stream. Eat your breakfast.